Hey, beautiful star beings. This is Meagan Mermaid with your monthly energy update. Welcome to June. We had a crazy month in May. Feel free to say hello if you're joining live. I'm so happy to have all of you here, whether you're live or on replay. We're moving into a very different energy. You can kind of think of it as moving from like turbulent waters into this sort of calm. But in this calm, we're being asked to step into a deeper level of integration. It's almost like we did all of this powerful magic work last month, and the magic is going to continue, of course, but we're moving into a different level, which means that we have to trust the timing. So last month, the words were beauty, bliss, and rebirth. We finished our eclipse cycle. Hi, Leah. Good to see you. Yay, Leah sharing integration time. We finished our eclipse cycle and we really had to go through like the depths of our shadow. We had to like find everything that needed to be cleared when it comes to relationships or situations that were no longer working for us. So now it's like we've created all of this space. But sometimes when we have space, it creates a little bit of restlessness. It creates a little bit of anxiety. And we have to be mindful that we're not trying to like hurry and rush to fill that space in by micromanaging the universe. So I was given a very easy, simple formula this month for our words for June. So it's belief plus acceptance equals magic. So I'm going to say that one more time. Belief plus acceptance equals magic. So how do we create magic this month? It starts by believing. The Mermaid Empowerment for Belief. I'll show you the card here. And what's really exciting is this deck, I just completed the booklet last night. I completed the formatting for the guidebook. Everything is complete. So now this deck is 44 original images that I've created and channeled from the Mermaids of Sirius, along with a full booklet that talks about how to work with the deck, how to consecrate your deck, how to do different spreads, all sorts of things. It's 108 pages. So it's pretty much my first book. And this is called the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck. So I'm going to be sharing more information in the next few days and weeks about the Kickstarter that's going to support me in getting this creative project up and running. So if you're interested in supporting this project so that you can have your own deck, let me know. And if you're not on the mailing list already, you can join in the comments below, and I'll be sharing more updates about this exciting project. But so the card for belief, the Mermaid Empowerment is, I believe it and receive it. And what's so funny is my daughter is really into all of the Disney princesses right now. And she just got this really cute little Cinderella dress. And I was thinking about the whole story of Cinderella. And there's a couple things I wanted to point out. Of course, if you've seen the Disney version, when they're singing, no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. Now, that is truth to the T, a capital T, truth with a capital T. You got to feel your feelings, but you've got to believe it. So the Mermaid Empowerment is, I believe it and receive it. We're in this transitionary period right now where the old is falling away, but the new is not yet here. So this is where that power of belief is so important. That trust is so important, where we've got to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the universe is taking care of everything, even if it's not on the timing that we'd like. We've got to trust in divine timing. And so the way that we do that is through acceptance. And the Mermaid Empowerment for acceptance is I accept what is and create from there. So belief, there's a reason why this card is probably the darkest in the deck, where it's this completely dark night and all she can see is a little bit of this mermaid magic, this starlight that's kind of beginning to pour in. And that's sort of the stage that we're in, where all of this magic is coming to us, but it takes time and we've got to trust. So in those moments where you start to have fear or worry, or you notice that you're trying to micromanage the universe and you're like, well, what if I do this? Or what if I do this? Or if you start to feel like that pressure, that's when you've got to step into this energy of acceptance. I accept what is and create from there. So acceptance is a very neutral energy, okay? Belief is what brings us out of the negativity and that spiral of like thinking, well, what if it doesn't happen? Or what if this happens? Or blah, blah, blah. Or, when we don't see that evidence yet, belief is what carries us. It's almost like this boat where, we're on these uncharted waters on this Imrama, this quest, and belief is the boat that's carrying us there. Our belief is what's carrying us. So then that acceptance piece is saying that we accept where we're at. We accept this space. I tried to say stage and space at one time. This stage of the journey. If you were supposed to be somewhere else, you would be. Okay. If you were supposed to be doing something, you would be. If something was supposed to be happening now, it would be. Sometimes that's a difficult pill to swallow because we want to be in a different place. But when we're trying to fight against what is, we put ourselves into this situation of blocking ourselves from receiving and blocking ourselves from understanding and moving through the lesson of this moment. So there might just still be more to learn where you're at this time. So if you start to turn that acceptance into gratitude and curiosity, instead of trying to move out of this present moment where the magic is, you can start to get curious about, okay, how can I give? How can I love? How can I serve? How can I find gratitude? What's going well? So belief and acceptance are what create magic. Magic is what we're bringing in. And so in my mermaid magic activations, which you can check out if you didn't get a chance to watch a couple, I think it was last week. I don't know, time starts to get all blurry, but the last live that I did was mermaid magic activations. And I talked about how mermaid magic is taking the ashes and turning them into beauty for the healing of humanity. And so we do that through our belief and acceptance. That's what creates the magic. That's what puts us into the next timeline. That's what allows us to manifest the things that we want. That's what allows us to receive miracles and blessings. We've got to believe that it's possible, and we've got to accept where we're at. And that's how we get to the next step. Rather than trying to fight what is, we've got to hold on to our faith and our trust and our belief. We've got to accept where we're at. We've got to become present. And then we magnetize things to us. So an affirmation that came to me recently, which I really, really love, it's not a mermaid empowerment, but it's just as good, is I don't chase, I attract. What's for me will find me. I don't chase, I attract. What's for me will find me. So that's being in our feminine energy. When we step back and we stop controlling or trying to control or trying to manipulate, which is all this restless, erratic masculine energy, we can sit back and step into the flow where we become the conduit of the feminine, and everything becomes a little bit more ease-filled, joy-filled, and things just happen naturally, and they happen synchronistically. Now, the other day I was watching this video from another YouTuber, and she was talking about confirmation bias and how our subconscious mind will show us things based upon what we believe. So she gave the example that if we start looking for red cars, we're going to notice red cars everywhere. And it was so interesting because literally after she said red car, because I was listening in my car on the way to teach my class, I saw a red car go by, and then I made a left and I saw 2 more red cars. And I made a right, 3 more red cars. I pull into the parking lot, 1 red car, 1 red car, 1 red car coming. And ever since then, all I've been seeing is red cars. So I encourage you to try this experiment. Start noticing how many red cars you see throughout the month of June. And it might get like ridiculous, where it's just like, oh my gosh, all I'm seeing is red cars. But what this is showing us is the power of our subconscious mind and how what we think upon appears. So we've got to understand that we're living in a simulation. The only thing that's real in this simulation is you as a fractal of God consciousness, your awareness inside this body, other people's awareness inside their bodies, and the earth. Nature. Everything else is up to us. So, based upon our thoughts, based upon our mindset, based upon our mastery of our emotions and our feelings and what we're thinking and how we're approaching our life, we're going to be on different levels of this simulation. And so, if we want to get to the level of magic and ease and flow, we've got to step into mastery, and you've got to start paying attention to what you're thinking and get really serious about it. Yeah, it's great to do affirmations and scripting or whatever practices you like, but it's an all day thing. It has to be this moment by moment awareness and recognizing, what am I thinking about right now? And is this thought bringing me closer to the things that I want? Or is it making me feel worse, making me feel separate, making me feel resentful? We've got to be in that. So remember, this month, the equation is belief plus acceptance equals magic. So when it comes to the chakras this month, we're working on our solar plexus, our third eye, and our crown chakra. And so it's the same thing. These go hand in hand with that equation. Belief is connected to our solar plexus. We've got to believe that we are one and the same with source consciousness, that we are an aspect of source consciousness having a human experience, that we're a wave in the ocean of consciousness, that we're not separate from that. So when we work with ascended masters or goddesses or different archetypes like that, the mermaid archetype, for example, what we're doing is we're almost like downloading or trying on those aspects of God within form. And our galactic soul signature is our own unique archetype, is our own blend of qualities of God consciousness that make us who we are. And we are becoming that through all of our incarnations. We're bringing in this unique flavor, this unique perspective of God consciousness. So belief is rooted in our solar plexus. It's actually, I was reading in the Gene Keys today that our solar plexus, the ganglia in our solar plexus, is very deeply connected to our heart as well. And so it's all of these pieces of really stepping back into that oneness. So our belief is connected to our ability to recognize that we live in a safe, a beautiful, and all-loving universe, and that we're a part of a bigger plan of awakening where everything is stepping into a level of unity and love and trust. So if you're on that wave, if you're riding that wave of unity and love and trust, the highest frequencies of love, truth, healing, and peace, you're on the ascension game. You know, sometimes I have clients or people that ask me, how will I know if I'm going to ascend, or how will I know if I'm on the right path? And that's it. If you're attuned to the highest frequencies of love, truth, healing, and peace, you're a part of that plan for everything to expand through love. And if you're not, then things are going to feel a lot more challenging. So the solar plexus is reminding us of our inner power. And the solar plexus is also connected to another mermaid empowerment called radiance, which is this knowing and recognition that everything is inside of us. The light is inside of us. All the things that we need are inside of us. And so every time that we're looking outside of ourselves for approval or validation, or like co-signing that we're good enough or what we want is good enough, that leads to self-doubt, which blocks our belief, right? Our belief in ourself, our belief in our magic, our belief in the universe. So we got to be really mindful this month. And you got to ask yourself, what am I believing right now? Am I believing in myself? Am I believing in my dreams? Or am I believing in old programming or things that just don't serve me anymore? So then acceptance is very deeply connected to our third eye, because it's like we've got to, as multidimensional beings, we've got to continue to want to create and call in more, as well as accepting what is, right? So we have to kind of be available to two different realities at once. The reality that we're in based on thoughts and feelings and emotions that have already happened, and then the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that we're having in real time that are magnetizing a new reality. So it's like we've got to see what's coming while accepting what's here and recognizing that both of these realities can coexist. So it kind of starts to get very meta. And, you don't have to worry too much about all of the logistics of what's happening. Just focus on belief and acceptance, and that's going to bring the magic in. So our third eye is also very deeply connected to our solar plexus. It's like the higher octave of our solar plexus. So our solar plexus is connecting us to our mental body, and the third eye is connected to the atmic body, which is kind of like the mind of God, right? So when we're attuned to the mind of God, then it's much easier to download higher vibrational thoughts, which emit higher vibrational feelings, which allow us to relax and call in that magic, those miracles, those blessings. And then the crown chakra, of course, is where we receive and download that information. So all of this is working together, and we've got to trust that good things are happening and good things take time. So that might be something that you want to write down on a post-it and put on a mirror this month: is good things are happening and good things take time. Let me ask you this. How many things have happened in your life that started out really fast? As a fire sign, I can raise my hand that there's been plenty of times where something started really, really quickly and it ended just as abruptly. When we light that fire, it often burns out very quickly. So we've got to also recognize that there's this divine timing and this divine orchestration of events, of situations. In fact, today, as I'm recording this, Jupiter is making this really beautiful aspect to the North Node, which is kind of like activating our destiny, expanding our destiny. But in those moments, it's usually something that we might meet someone or say something and plant a seed, and we're not going to know exactly what that where that's taking us, what timeline that's putting us on until much later. And that's sort of how life goes all of the time, where, we have this idea and this vision of where we want to go, but in our day-to-day lives, every choice, every action, every thought, every decision that we make throughout the day is pointing us towards that path, and is building our new reality brick by brick. So because we're still in this energy of the North Node being in Taurus, this is a time for us to really build step by step and create this energy of presence, of luxury. And Jupiter is in Taurus right now. So we're expanding through this Taurian Venetian energy of sensuality and of presence and comfort, and really slowing down and stepping into a space of calmness, moving out of chaos. So I feel like that's what we're moving into in June, is we're moving from chaos into calm. But even when we're in calm, we can start to feel restless in our minds, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, like we get so used to all those chemicals and our nervous system and everything going from like thriving on this survival mode, that like when things start to calm down, we can feel bored. We can feel like something's missing, or there's all sorts of things that can happen. So I just want you to notice and observe when you get into those moments of where do you go when things get calm or when things get quiet, and how can you kind of use that energy as a time to become more present and more embodied. In mermaid consciousness, the path to ascension is based in beauty, bliss, and sovereign sensuality, reality. And it's a path of embodiment, of being inside our body through the senses. So as we're waiting in this time of divine orchestration, it's all about becoming present in this moment. That's how we accept what is. We use the senses, what we can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. And that's what gets us back into our body. Like, for example, smell is one of those things that really activates our neural pathways and creates new neural pathways and brings us into the present moment. So I always have my diffuser on. I always have incense. And, fragrances, really essential oils are another great thing too. Fragrances bring us into that present moment. And we're going to be learning more in this month's Mermaid Masterclass about how to reclaim our magic and how to start treating ourselves as the goddess in form, and how that brings our energy back to us instead of trying to reach for other people's validation or approval. So there's all sorts of shifts that are happening, and they're good shifts, but a lot of this is just patience, which is sometimes challenging. And also just this recognition of slowing down enough to be in this moment without trying to make something happen in the next moment. So on June 3rd, we have, sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here. We have the full moon in Sag. So that's 2 days away. We're moving into this energy of just freedom. Freedom is a really powerful word for Sagittarius. And, whenever we have a Scorpio moon and then we move into a Sag moon, we receive sort of like the downloads or the teachable moments of understanding from the shadow work that we did. So I feel like we're going to have some aha moments as we begin this month, where we're going to start to see why certain things happened the way they did, or why they didn't happen the way they did, or why it seems like some things were accelerated and then there was like a pause and like we're having to wait and step back. We're going to figure out how to find freedom in this moon, regardless of where we're at. So freedom, again, is very deeply connected to our solar plexus. When we're in harmony with our inner power and our inner radiance, then we're not so influenced by what's happening in our external reality, because we know that that's constantly shifting and changing based on how we feel and how tuned in we are to the truth of our inner reality. And then as we move into June 5th, we have Venus moving into Leo. And Venus is going to be in Leo through October, and we're going to be experiencing a Venus retrograde over the summer. So if you want to think about what was happening around, when was it? I want to say it was like 2015 that we had our last Venus retrograde in Leo. So the summer of 2015, July, August, around that time, I believe. You can look up the exact information if you want by Google, of course. I didn't write it down exactly, but I do remember Venus being in retrograde around 2015 in Leo. And so Leo is this energy of the self, right? And it's also this energy of romance. And when Venus goes retrograde, it brings all the things to the surface that are Venus related. So love and beauty and attractiveness and money. And so this is a time as Venus moves into Leo where we can start falling in love with ourself. And the more work that we do before Venus goes retrograde on self-love, on self-acceptance, whether those are affirmations or tapping or whatever you do to get into a deeper space of self-love, is going to prepare you for this. Because any challenges or difficulties that we have over the summer is all going to be related to where we're looking for love outside of ourselves rather than looking within. So it's all this solar plexus lesson. It's like everything is kind of like building on the next. Then as we move into June 18th, we're going to have our new moon in Gemini. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of switch our mindset, because Mercury is also going to be in Gemini at that time. So, this month is very deeply connected to the mind and to mental work and to our thoughts and all of that. So the more that we can keep ourselves busy learning new things and studying new things and keeping our minds active on positive things, things that enrich us rather than distract us, the better we're going to feel. If you're feeling anxious or if you're feeling kind of like out of sorts, it's probably because you have this excess mental energy. And when we're not applying it towards learning and growing and evolving, then it becomes worry and it becomes comparison and it becomes all sorts of other things. So you might also want to be really mindful this month of where your energy is going and where you're spending your time. You know, it might not be a month where you want to spend a lot of time scrolling through social media, because that's going to activate your mind into this space of comparison and this space of not enoughness. You also want to be mindful of what you're listening to. You know, even listening to subconscious programming at night would feel really helpful. Like there's affirmations or different things that you can listen to, or there's even types of music that have different megahertz for like the love frequency or all sorts of things. But you want to figure out what tools are in your toolkit so that you can keep your mind aligned in the highest frequencies. We want to be staying at this mind of God, and we want to bring that in. The more energy of God, of our higher self, which is an aspect of God consciousness that we can bring into form, the better we're going to feel this month. We also have Cancer season starting on June 21st, and that's also summer solstice. So we're kind of in the last few weeks of spring until we move into summer. So solstices and equinoxes are very powerful portals, and it's a time where one chapter is ending and another is beginning. So again, this is just emphasizing the point that I've been making today, that we're in this transitionary period. And so there might not be a lot that's happening right now, but I want you to consider when you get into those moments of worry, or, you know, you start to ask yourself, well, what if this happens? Or what if this doesn't happen? Or how is this going to work? How can you turn that fear into excitement of like, wow, I wonder how the universe is going to bless me this time, or I wonder where the money is going to come from this time, or I wonder how this is going to work out, and start to see yourself as this heroic character in this game of life, in this adventure, rather than this victim that, you know, is just influenced by what's happening around them without having control. It's a very different vibration. What else did I want to say about that? Oh, yeah. So, summer solstice is also the time where we're bringing in more light. So, we're moving into this space where little by little, day by day, we're going to start to feel better. But we get to that space of feeling better in this now moment by dropping in fully to this now moment. So I'm going to be pulling some cards, some additional cards from my deck for how to kind of ride the waves of energy for June. And if anyone's joining live and they want to share, if they have a question or anything that kind of stood out from what we've talked about so far, feel free to do so. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to do a star spread today, and that's one of the spreads that you'll learn about in the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck. And oh, one more thing I wanted to share is when we get into a space where we need to believe and we're having difficulty believing or having faith or trusting because we're not seeing the evidence just yet, then we can always ask for a sign. Today I asked for a sign. I was like, okay, I just want a sign. Sometimes we can ask for a specific sign, like if I see a cat in the next 24 hours, then I know I should do this. And if I don't see a cat, then I know I shouldn't, or I should wait. And sometimes we can just ask for a random sign, and we will always know when our sign is coming. And there was this one time where I asked for a sign and I was in Joshua Tree, and I turned around. I thought there was like someone on their dog or someone walking their dog. And instead I turn around and I see this giant ram, and it was literally like face to face with me. Like it looked me in the eye. And then I was trying to take a picture of it, but my phone was on like the 10-second thing. So by the time I changed it, the setting, the ram was like all the way up the mountain. But animal spirit medicine for ram is about moving forward and overcoming obstacles. And it's deeply connected to the energy of Aries and Capricorn. And um, kind of like climbing and achieving our goals, all of that. So anyway, that was my sign then. That was really cool. So what I've noticed is that when I kind of step back and manipulate less what the sign is, that I get more amazed. Like today, for example, I got my sign when I was bringing my groceries in, and this little teeny little hummingbird like was right next to the tree next to my car, and then it flew right up above, and then I had a chance to call my daughter because she was inside, and I was like, look at the hummingbird, and we saw the hummingbird doing all these like really beautiful like moves in the air, and that was my sign, because hummingbird represents joy. So when we're stepping into a space of joy, things become easier, things become more in flow. So my sign today was stay in joy. So I encourage you to ask for signs this month, because that's another indication that you're in your magic. And I'm going to be doing this really powerful masterclass on June 6th at 11 a.m. Pacific. And I'll tell you more about it in a few moments. But if you want to reclaim that magic and you're tired of giving your power away, and you really want to step deeper into your feminine wisdom and trusting your intuition and seeing the world as a magical place, I definitely recommend this masterclass. And it's kind of the first step in mermaid consciousness, which I'm really excited about. All right. So the current situation in our star spread today is generosity. So generosity and gratitude are sort of like these two pillars that support us in staying in a high vibration. So anytime we're not receiving, it's because we're not in this space of giving. So the mermaid empowerment for generosity is whatever I want, I give away. So anytime that you feel like you're stuck or you're stagnant or things aren't flowing, you got to figure out, how can I love? How can I serve? How can I give? Any opportunities to give this month and keep being generous is going to keep you in the flow. In fact, when I was reading in the Gene Keys, the 35th Gene Key today, the gift is adventure. Richard Rudd, who channeled the Gene Keys, was talking about how the more that we can put unconditional love into every area of our life, the more that we're going to receive positive change. So generosity is giving unconditionally. It's giving without a reason. It's giving without this ulterior motive. So you're going to notice you might be put in situations where you have an opportunity to give. And it could be as small as being at the grocery store and they're like, do you want to donate $1 to such and such? Yes. Anytime you have an opportunity, give. Even if you have those old sayings of like, oh, well, what if this money doesn't go, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens after you have the act of giving. If you do the giving, the universe will reward you. That's just the way that it works. It's the easiest way to step back into the flow, is to start giving. The advice card is curiosity. So the mermaid empowerment is, why did I just blank out on this? Let's see. Uh, Curiosity. Oh my goodness. This is so interesting. This must be really important because I literally feel like it got zapped out of my consciousness. Hi, Highness. Good to see you. Oh, yes. I explore my world with curiosity. This must be the most important point, because normally like thoughts just don't leave like that. It was just like zapped right out of my mind. I explore my world with curiosity. So, curiosity is the antidote to fear. It's not the opposite of fear. Love is the opposite of fear, but curiosity is the antidote. It gets us out of fear into the energy of exploration, which is what we do on an adventure, on a quest. So, when we explore our world with curiosity, we can start asking, what would a person have to be believing to be attracting this situation? Or what would they have to believe to call in this situation or to move out of this situation or attract this thing or this person? We just start to look at everything in our environment as data. Everything has data. And if we stop judging the data and we start getting curious about, wow, okay, so this is happening. It feels like this always happens. It feels like I get into this pattern or this theme, or it feels like every time I get to this space or step that I go backwards. So it's just really about looking at everything with the observational skills of a scientist this month. That's the way that we're going to move out of those limiting beliefs and those patterns that have kept you stuck, is by exploring them with curiosity. The challenge. The challenge this month is receptivity. Isn't that interesting? So, the mermaid empowerment for receptivity is I'm open and receptive. And I want you to look very clearly at this image where she's just sitting on the starfish and she's on top of this really beautiful waterfall and her heart is open. She's allowing the universe to come in. So the reason why all of the mermaids in my deck are filled with stardust and they're just a silhouette is to remember that we're a conduit of the universe. So this is a representation of God consciousness. Specifically for mermaids, it's the feminine energy. We can call it the goddess or whatever feels good for you. I like calling it the goddess because that just sounds cool to me. But it's all the same. You can call it universe, you can call it source, you can call it the flying spaghetti monster. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you attune to it and you recognize that there's something bigger in you that is moving you. And when you stop trying to find me. And so if you notice that you're in chasing, you can talk to yourself and say, oh, little human, it's okay. You were trying to make things happen. You don't have to do that. Just focus on giving. Get curious about what's blocking me from receiving, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So interesting. The correct action we have is perfect trust. So the mermaid empowerment for perfect trust is I trust and know that it's already done. So perfect trust comes after belief. It goes belief, faith, and then trust. So that's where we have to take that leap of faith and trust that the universe will be there to catch us, to meet us. We've got to believe in that desire. We've got to take that leap of faith, whether it's taking some action step or, moving forward and whatever it is, I just did a reel about this yesterday. If you want to check it out on my Instagram or TikTok about diving into perfect trust and what it means. But it's really just trusting that it's already done. Whatever we want is already done. So now we've just got to figure out where we're blocking ourselves from receiving it and where we're trying to make it happen instead of letting it happen and be mesmerized by how is our character going to get into this chapter? What's going to happen to our character in this chapter? And then we have strength as the other possibilities or supporting information. So the mermaid empowerment for strength is I'm stronger than all my fear thoughts. And this month we talked about how mindset is super important. We have over 60,000 thoughts every single day. Most of those are unconscious. So yay, I'm hearing done, done, done. Yes, I love that. And I love the roses too. So we've got to be the master of our mindset. We've got to remember that we're stronger than our fear thoughts. And when you get into that space of worry, that's because you're identifying with your mind rather than letting your mind be in service to your heart. So that's just your cue to get back into your body. And lastly, interesting, the synthesis, which is bringing all this information together, is non-reaction. And the mermaid empowerment for non-reaction is I'm a master of non-reaction. So this is another thing that we've got to notice is that when we get into those situations, it's kind of like if you've ever played a video game, like I know this is like super, super old school, but like, when you played Super Mario and like you would get to like the one level and like you try to make the jump or like the little mushroom would like come and like get on top of you, or I don't even know if that's the right thing, but maybe the turtle. It's been a while, but and it's like you would get to that certain stage of the video game and every single time that's like where your character would die and you'd have to start over. So it's kind of the same thing in this simulation of life. This game that we're playing is we're going to continue to experience the same situations and the same themes until we get it right. And so if we start to step back and we practice curiosity about what's happening and why it's happening instead of trying to push it away or move through it super quickly to get to this other place that we think is going to bring us a different feeling. The only thing that will bring us a different feeling is tuning in to our connection with source or God consciousness. So non-reaction is basically like choosing to take a pause, and instead of reacting to that trigger, getting curious about it. Instead of projecting what you're feeling, you start to ask yourself, what is self-care for me in this moment? How can I honor myself? How can I take care of myself? What do I need to nourish myself so that I can feel better in this moment, rather than reacting to what's happening or what's not happening or what someone said or what they didn't say? It's interesting because, again, I keep going back to the gene keys, but there's just so much good stuff in there. And today I was reading in the Venus sequence about how, it's kind of like he gave the analogy of leaving our emotions on the porch, where oftentimes we have this emotion and we want to just go talk about it to the person, or we want to tell them, and we've got to give ourselves this moment to contemplate the emotion. It doesn't mean suppressing the emotion, but he gave this analogy of leaving it on the porch, where we sit with it, we get curious about it, we figure out where it's rooted. Because oftentimes what we're reacting to doesn't even really have to do with the thing. It's the thing triggers this wound that comes from childhood or being a teenager, or it reminds us of this other person that did this. And like, so you see how it's like all this like entanglement. So if we just react, what's going to happen? We're going to build more of this. It's almost like, when you have a whole bunch of necklaces in your jewelry box, and like they all kind of get like stuck together, and you have to untangle them little by little. Every time we react, it's like you're adding another necklace to that pile that you have to like unravel. But if you practice non-reaction, then you give yourself that moment to look at it and start to take data. And then after you contemplate and you process that emotion, you can have that conversation with that person that you felt triggered by. But I guarantee you, the conversation will go better. The conversation will be from a place of integration rather than a place of reactivity. And both of you will be able to receive more from that experience. So, there's so much this month that's good energy, but a lot of it is just believing in the in between. We're in an in between. There's cycles of activation and integration. And sometimes we think we want more activation, or we think we're ready for this thing, but the universe knows better than us. We've got to trust that. We've got to trust that everything is always happening in perfect divine timing. So if we can be willing to be patient, I know it's hard, especially me as a fire sign, then we're going to recognize that we're exactly where we're supposed to be, and everything is happening exactly the way that it is. And when you get nervous, get back into your body and just think about all the times that you worried about everything ever in your entire life, how it's always worked out. It's always worked out. It always has, and it always will. So we've just got to be gentle with ourselves, because every time that we notice and we start to shift these patterns, we're not only doing it for us, but we're doing it for every single human, because our DNA is linked to the collective DNA, the collective consciousness. We're all linked. Everything that we do or think affects everybody else. Leah, feel free to share the energy that, or the mantra that came from your Big Cat Council. The suffering of one is the suffering of all, right? And the healing of one is the healing of all. I believe I said that correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's true. We're all linked. We're all linked, right? And so the more that we're doing this work and we're being gentle with ourselves and recognizing that we're having to deconstruct thousands and thousands of years of manipulative programming in our DNA, it's not going to happen overnight. But every thought that is on love, and every time that we practice self-care, and every time that we keep accepting what is, while believing that whatever we want to receive, it's already done, that's how we heal. And that's how everybody heals. And it's not going to matter if one person is doing well if we leave everybody else behind. It's like thinking that one part of our body can go on without the rest of our body. It's just not possible. We're all linked. Everything is linked. We're all one. So start focusing on things that make you feel good, and know the best is yet to come. So again, I'd love to see you in my mermaid masterclass. It's called Reclaiming the Cohellen Druith, and there's a video on my YouTube here that talks more about it. If you can't make it live on June 6th, there will be a replay, which is just as powerful. There's going to be some really amazing teachings and activations, and this is the first step into mermaid consciousness, which is a path to ascension based in beauty, bliss, and sovereign sensuality. And it literally upgrades your consciousness, your DNA, into accessing your own inner mermaid, which is your mermaid etheric body. And just as the mermaids are filled with the universe, filled with all of this light, this starlight, all of these divine feminine qualities of the goddess, that's what you'll get when you activate mermaid consciousness. You download it into your form and it expresses itself through your unique energetic signature. So if that sounds interesting or fun, I hope it does, because it's super fascinating to me. You can check out that link in bio to sign up. You can also book a personal session with me. I have all sorts of activations and resources on my website at meaganmermaid.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok on Official Meagan Mermaid. So I love you all so much, and I wish you all the best for June. Have a great day.